Hi everybody, it's Rosie here from inkybutterfly.com. Thank you so much for joining me again today for another card making video. It's our Project Share Project blog hop this weekend, so we have a fun fold theme to work towards. So not my strongest thing to make, but we're going to do it anyway. And I'm going to feature this Last Chance Designer Series paper. This is Regal Flora. So you'll find it in the online store. It's a really great set of paper with some really great colours, including wild wheat, got shaded spruce and blackberry bliss, night of navy, cherry cobbler. Really nice set of paper that you can pick up right now, and that's while the stocks last. But you could use this obviously with any other designer series paper you have, and obviously the real focus today is the actual fold rather than too much fancy stuff going on the front of the card. But what I have done is I've decorated this with beautiful butterflies dies, so that's what I'm using today. And they'll be they're now available again. They were out of stock for a little bit. The cardstock I've actually used today is actually a retired one. I just wanted to make a template from something that I didn't mind using up, and so I didn't make any mistakes. And this turned out really well, and it's got this fun closure, so if you sort of just bend it, it closes up, and then you can just lift it open and you can reveal the butterfly on the inside. Okay, so this is what we're going to aim to make today. So I'm just going to pop that over there, and we're going to use Night of Navy with this cardstock, this pattern in the designer series paper. I've got some scraps of Misty Moonlight as well, just to maybe bring in some contrast for maybe on the butterfly bodies, but we'll see whether we want to use that or not. But this cardstock is the full length, but I've cut it down to 5 7/8 of an inch, and we just need to score this now so that we can make our fun fold. So I'm going to bring in the trimmer, but you can obviously use your Simply Scored. So just zooming out a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing. So first of all, we're going to score up 4. Okay, this is going to become our front flap, so I'm just going to burnish that just for a second, just so that I know that that's there. And I'm just going to mark it as well, just so that I know that this is the front. And then the middle panel is going to be our usual width, so that's 4 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to pop that score line that I've just bent over in there, and we're going to score again. So that middle is the usual width of a card base, which is 4 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so this flap is going to become our little skinny one that we've got, that's going to coat underneath that circle die. So we'll make sure that's in place, and then we're going to cut this to 1 3/4. Let me just double check that, because me and fun folds don't usually go together. Yeah, 1 3/4 inches. So I'm just going to make sure that that score line lines up, and there's a mark down at the bottom here as well, which helps. Okay, so I'm going to line that up. I'm going to cut that up 1 3/4 inches. I've got some scrap there as well. So that's the one that goes in. That's the one that comes across, but we need to cut this at our nice angle. Okay, but what we want to do is make sure it doesn't cut. We don't want it to expose this corner, so we don't want to cut it too short. So I'm actually going to do this at 1 inch, and I'm just going to make a mark. So I'm going to shove that over here, and I'm just going to use my little score blade here just to make some marks in the cardstock at 1 1 inch there, and that'll be the beginning of our angle across there. And then we can just decide how big our sort of V is going to be at the bottom. Okay, so if you can imagine now, we're going to be cutting this. Okay, we just want that to be that V there, just to make sure that we can capture it. Okay, so on this one, it looks like I did it at about, let's see, 1.5 inches. Let's go with that, 1.5 inches, and we'll do that there. Okay, so these are the lines now that we're going to use to create our cuts. Okay, so I'm going to join up those lines there that we have just, all those marks I should say, and we're going to cover them up with designer series paper, so don't worry, or you can go over it with a your bone folder. Okay, so now we've got some lines on there, yep, you can just see, and we can use those lines and just line those up inside the trimmer. I'm going to take mine to the slightly to the right, just to make sure that I catch it, so it's sort of lining up with the grey bit of the track rather than actually on the track itself. Okay, and we'll cut that away. We'll do the same with the bottom. Line that up. And chop that away. Okay, so that's created the base of our card, and that overlaps just nicely. Probably could have taken it in a little bit more, so it's not going to turn out the same every time necessarily, unless you want to stick with a measurement formula. So I'm just going to use my bone folder just to make those all nice and neat. It's a little fluffy that's just come off there. Okay, so that's what we've got so far. Okay, so let's start decorating some of this stuff up. So I've got a panel for the inside, and because we're using the Night of Navy and the Night of Navy paper, I thought a pop of white would be nice. Okay, so we'll just use some seal, and that's now run out, so I've been waiting for that to run out for some time. Get quite a lot of use out of the Stampin' Seal. Okay, sometimes you get a little bit of glue building up on the inside, so you just want to take that off. Oops, I slipped my fingers. I've got a refill right here, ready to go. There we go, and then just sort of wind it on. You'll see it underneath the roller there. First couple of rolls, you just want to do it nice and slowly, just to get it going, and then once it's going, it's grand. Okay, so let's pop this together like so. I'm still zoomed out. And then this can go on the inside of our card. That'll help us keep track of where we are with it as well. That looks like it should go that way. Don't think it's supposed to be a directional pattern, but some of the flowers just look like they should be one way or another. Okay, So that's the inside. This short panel, I've already cut a strip already, but I'm not doing the white on this bit. I just want this to be the to blend in. So a couple of strips seal along there, and again just looking to see whether there's a gonna go this way, I think. That's that bit done. So those are the easy bits. Okay, and then we've got that pop of white. There will be some white bits on the front as well, so it'll sort of tie together with that as well. So for this panel then, I've already cut it the right height. It's got the border, okay, but obviously we need to cut it to this funny angle, and I haven't cut enough on the width, so I'm just going to grab another piece, which is here. So let's just make sure that's 4 inches. By 5 3/4. I knew I'd make one mistake on this, because that's how that happens. I'm going to need that in a minute. Let me just put it out of the way just for a second while I'm sorting this out. So again, you want to just make sure you've lined it up where you want it. Now the devil here was going to be, you've got to try and hold it in place and then flip it over. Okay, so you could use a little bit of your Stampin' Seal, so just a little smidge, which will help you just keep it in place, and then you can wipe that away afterwards. Then I'm going to use a pencil to create my cut lines, just like I did for the front itself. Okay, so that glue's just come away, so we can bring back our trimmer. But what we actually want to do is cut away a bit more than what we need, so I'm going to make sure that line is actually sort of lined up with the white bit here, which will take off that extra sort of 1/8 of an inch or so, or 1/16 of an inch, that will compensate for that extra bit of you know, we want that Night of Navy edge to show through. So we're lining up that line. It's a bit hard to see on this busy paper, but I can just, there we are. I think it's there. And there. Okay. So hopefully now we've got a piece that will fit on the front. Yay. In fact, that's turned out better than the original in the end. Okay, right, so bit of seal. This is just because it's a new roll, it's just plain up. I don't know why. Usually it doesn't take an extra roll, but okay. Just make sure that little edge is done, and I'd still like to just line it up with that straight edge and then just let the rest do its own thing. It's probably hard for you to see that on the camera because we already know it fits, so as long as that's lined up, that'll line up. Okay, so that's our card front. Okay, right, let's just make sure that's nice and burnished now that we've been messing about with it. Right, so decoration wise then, already got my navy circle, but we need our sentiment. So thinking we can use, shall we use Misty Moon on Night of Navy? Let's just use Night of Navy. We've used Night of Navy for everything else. So we're just going to do this for you sentiment, nice simple sentiment that will fit into that circle. Okay. And we can die cut that out. That's all I need the ink for, I think. Okay, so that's going to be cut with one of our Stylish Shapes dies. That probably looks really dark on camera. And it is dark, but not black. Okay, so that's ready to go. But we also want some butterflies to decorate the front. So there's 2 of these dies in the set, so we'll put those in. And we can cut those all at the same time. And the other thing we need is a body for our larger butterfly. Okay, I've just got to decide what colour I want to do that. So the butterfly itself is going to be white to make it contrast from the thing, but I think the navy is going to sort of sit back, which is why I thought the Misty Moonlight might be a good option. Just to bring in another colour that'll just help pop that a little bit. Okay. So I thought maybe Misty Moonlight would have been a better choice for that. Maybe it would be, and let's cut that out just so that there's some more navy elements in there that match. Okay, so we'll cut a bit of this as well. Let's pop that on that together on there. And we'll cut down the cardstock so we can get everything cut at the same time. That's what happens when you change your plan. Right, okay. Let's see if we can get as much of this die cut as possible. Okay. All in one pass. We'll have to do another butterfly and the big butterfly, but let's do all of that together on the plate. Okay. Just going to bring this in and show you actually. So just cut that all through. So there's our sentiments. Sometimes you need to they get stuck on the cutting plate a little bit. That's going to layer on top of that. There's our little butterfly body ready to go. Okay, so those. Then we've got these detailed butterflies, but we need one more, and we need our big one. So we can chop that down a bit so that we've got space for our big one to go through as well. So you have to make sure your die is clean if you're going to use it again straight away. Sometimes there's little bits that get stuck in there, and then we'll use in fact actually that might fit all together. Where's my big? There it is. We can fit all that onto one piece of paper. There we go. Let's do that. We can use that scrap for something else. Rightio then, so that's going to go through now, and we'll just put our top plate on top and wind that through. So there we go, I've got all of that done. Poke tool, I'll just tap out all of those. I'm just doing it over the bin rather than doing it on a drop to my butterfly. So let me just grab that. Okay, I ended up having to cut out another one of those because it dropped on the floor and I couldn't find it again. So I've cut 3 of those, and I've poked out all the little detail bits there. So we'll just pop some glue on here to secure that body on there, so that's got time to dry a little. Before we add it to the inside, so we'll just pop that to one side. It's cute, right? It's really, really pretty. So that's going to dry, and then our sentiment, all the shoes, seal to layer this up onto that Misty Moonlight element. Could have used the navy, but I thought it might sink in a little bit because the other card I did use the lighter colour. I was going to use Misty Moonlight for this card base, and started off doing that, and then I miscut it and I didn't have any more Misty Moonlight. So what we want to just do is just make sure that that's secured there, so that there's enough to catch this flap. Okay, if that makes sense. But we also want to lift it up onto some dimensionals, so I'm going to put them along the, when I flipped it over, on the right hand side. Okay, so it's going to use dimensionals for that. I have been fingers and thumbs all day today, and so sorry if this has been a bit difficult. It's just been one of those days. Okay, we're just going to take those off so we can just put that onto the card. I kind of want it where that point is, but obviously far enough over to catch the front, so just using that as my guide there. So as long as that will come up and then you can just sort of bend it into place, then that's going to be perfect. Okay, I think we'll just put on our little guys now. One of them's going to have to go onto a dimensional though, because it's going to have to overhang this. So this portion of the body, the sort of the head bit, is just big enough for a mini dimensional, so that can just float off onto from the sentiment there, which just ties everything together a little bit. We're going to have one guy sort of here, so we'll pop him down. And it's kind of nice that that kind of overlaps the little closure element. Okay, and then we'll have the other guy, just bringing some balance up over here. Just want them all at different angles, so okay. So that's got to just set up for a little bit, and then we'll pop some more glue on the back of this, and we can just pop a couple of dabs on these sort of less skinny bits. Okay, I can pop that on the inside. We needed a bit more time to dry, but it'll be fine. There we go. So that's the inside, that's the outside, and we just need to pop some pearls or something into the onto those. So let's use, I did just use rhinestones on the other ones. Could do that again. Yep, let's do that. So we used a large one and a medium one on each of these. Ooh. Let's stay. Told you, all fingers and thumbs today. Don't know why. There we go. There's that one. And that one. So these are the largest and the medium ones that I'm using on this. We've got loads of embellishments that you could use. And you can also colour these in using like an alcohol marker. It's a non-porous surface, so you can't use a water-based thing because it'll just wipe off. But an alcohol marker will dry onto those. And voila. Okay, so nice, just simple in terms of the decoration for this one. So it's all about just creating the fold. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed it anyway, even though it's been a bit longer. Just to have this nice little flap that you can just then open and reveal the nice sort of angle there, and the lovely butterfly on the inside with the contrasting white against that darker paper. Okay, here's the original. So I used the black as the contrast rather than the white. Okay, just to make something a little different. Okay, do have a check of the blog associated with this project, and then you'll be able to see what all the other project gang have made. I'm sure they'll have made some very interesting things for this, so do stop by and have a look at those. Thanks ever so much for joining me today for this slightly longer video. Do stay safe, take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.